1 Chapter 1. Classic of Mountains and Seas. Yunlu Mountains, Lingbi Mountain. Early morning, on the cliff. A figure sat cross-legged on the tiger head rock, and wisps of spiritual energy from heaven and earth, as if alive, flowed into his mouth and nose along with his breathing. It circulates along the meridians in the body, completes a small cycle, and then turns into a stream of turbid air and is sprayed out again. After a moment, the man stood up and revealed his clear appearance in the sunlight. He looked to be nearly 8 feet tall, with an upright figure, brows like swords, eyes full of spirit, and he stood like a pine tree, with a tenacious and strong aura surging from him. This man's name is Changjun. He is a direct descendant of the Shu family of Yunlu Mountain and the chief of Lingbi Mountain. The entire Lingbi Mountain and the surrounding area within 5 miles are under his jurisdiction. Changjun is not very old, only 20 years old, and is at the 6th level of Qi training. He was able to be appointed as the head of Lingbi Mountain entirely because of the support of his parents. His parents were high-ranking members of the Shu family. Because they died in the war against the foreign sect, Changjun received a generous reward from the family. Under the focused training, Changjun had 2 choices: either be sent to Luyun City to serve as the manager of the family store, or be appointed as the head of a mountain. He had to choose one of the 2. There is money to be made by sending someone to manage the family chamber of commerce. As for the mountain chief, the management rights of the entire mountain will be handed over to you. You are responsible for your own profits and losses, and you also need to pay certain taxes regularly. The advantage is that it is conducive to spiritual practice and you can enjoy family benefits. Among the 3 major forces in Yundong Lake, the Yunlu Shu family of the Purple Mansion family is the largest. It mainly controls the central area of Yundong Lake and owns the rich spiritual mineral resources and holy land of cultivation in Yunlu Mountain. If it were any other family member, they would probably choose to become the manager of a chamber of commerce with more money, but Changjun made a different choice. It's not because he is so eccentric, but because some things really need to be kept away from the public eye. On the top of Lingbi Mountain, there is a rock that looks like a tiger's head, hence the name Tiger Head Rock. Standing on Ch1-2 rock, Changjun's gray robe swayed in the wind. On the hem of his robe was embroidered a deer lying in the clouds, which was the symbol of the Yunlu Shu family. Standing high and looking into the distance, Changjun's mood seemed to be turbulent, just like the ever-changing clouds in the sky. He is not a local, but a time traveler. When the news of his parents' death came, the original owner died of heart failure due to excessive grief. He took advantage of the opportunity and became the new Changjun. Because the original owner's memory was incomplete and the integration was too little, he did not know much about the past, so Changjun chose to become an external headmaster to prevent familiar people from noticing any abnormalities. This is a world of immortals and heroes, with all kinds of unimaginable and terrifying methods. The means of searching souls and capturing ghosts are not uncommon. Changjun was afraid that he would be suspected and his soul would be pulled out and tortured. By then, there might not even be a chance to hide it. In order to avoid trouble, Changjun deliberately chose the opportunity to be assigned and became the head of Lingbi Mountain. Changjun possesses 3 spiritual roots of earth, fire and thunder, among which thunder is an exceptional spiritual root. His sensitivity is above average and his qualifications are among the best in the family, so he receives special care and careful training. After waiting for so many days, the cache is finally complete. I should be able to offer the sacrifice today. When Changjun's consciousness sank into his mind, he suddenly felt a scroll shining with golden light emerging from the depths of his mind. The scroll was not opened at all, but above the vertical column, 3 large, brilliant characters were engraved on it. Classic of Mountains and Seas. According to legend in the past, the Classic of Mountains and Seas, the most amazing book in ancient and modern times, was the culprit that brought it to this world. Ever since traveling through time, Changjun has been trying to figure out the purpose of the Classic of Mountains and Seas. After many experiments, a scale bar appeared on the scroll of Mountains and Seas, caching it bit by bit, and finally Changjun got an answer. You need to prepare 3 kinds of livestock for sacrifice before you can open this Classic of Mountains and Seas. The 3 animals here are not ordinary animals, but spiritual animals. Each one must be a spiritual animal that has entered the Qi training level and must be complete. A spiritual cow, a spiritual sheep, and a spiritual pig. These are all first-level monsters and are very valuable. Changjun can afford to get some ordinary bones and flesh. However, to open the Classic of Mountains and Seas, 3 complete spiritual animals are needed, which is very expensive. Changjun spent a whole year preparing and also lost a lot of the inheritance left by his parents. It should be time to start the first sacrifice. Changjun walked down the mountain as if talking to himself. As the head of Lingbi Mountain, Changjun's residence was located at the foot of the mountain. It was a not too big courtyard. In addition to Changjun and all the ordinary maids and servants, there was also an old servant left by his parents, named Uncle Fu. Before he reached the foot of the mountain, he saw an old man waiting for him not far away. When he saw him, he hurried to meet him. "Didn't I tell you not to wait here? Why didn't you listen?" It seemed like a complaint, but in fact it was a tone of concern coming out of Changjun's mouth. This caused Uncle Fu to smile slightly, but he still moved closer and whispered, "Master, everything you need is ready. Yeah, let's go." Hearing this, Changjun's heart skipped a beat. As he was close to success, he felt a little uneasy. After returning to the courtyard, they came to the inner room. Before that, Changjun had specifically instructed Uncle Fu to place the 3 animals inside to prevent them from being noticed by outsiders. After all, this kind of sacrificial ritual is Changjun's own secret. The fewer people know about it, the safer it is. Even though it was Uncle Fu, Changjun didn't say much, and Uncle Fu didn't ask much either, he just prepared seriously. Magic pigs, magic cows, magic sheep. The 3 spiritual animals were placed intact in front of him. Changjun knelt on the cushion, silently chanted, "Good luck," twice in his heart, and then announced the opening. In an instant, Changjun, who was kneeling on the ground in the inner room, felt a sudden explosion in his head. An unimaginable and unprecedented ancient roar swept over quickly from afar, instantly approaching and enveloping his mind. In an instant, he felt as small as an ant, even worse than an ant, and could only tremble under the vast power of heaven. Then, a huge black hole suddenly appeared in his mind, swallowing up his entire consciousness. In the outside world, the clouds were light and the breeze was gentle, and there was nothing unusual in the quiet little house. Uncle Fu was guarding outside the door and not allowing anyone to enter. Little did he know that Changjun, who was kneeling on the ground in the inner room, had his eyes black and fainted completely. A terrifying and wild aura directly enveloped Changjun, and boundless and vast spiritual energy surged in the air, as if every breath was filled with spiritual energy. Where is this place? When Changjun regained consciousness, he found that he seemed to be in an extremely unfamiliar situation. He could only feel that everything around him contained unimaginably rich spiritual energy, which was almost 1,000 times more concentrated than where he was. It was like bathing in a river of spiritual energy. Even the spiritual energy concentration of the 3rd-level spiritual vein of the Shu family headquarters in Yunlu Mountain, which he had seen, was less than 1,000th or 1/10,000th of that level. He could no longer tell the difference. The difference was too huge, like heaven and earth. If he practiced here, Changjun was sure that he would be able to break through the realm in a very short time. However, when he wanted to practice, he found that he seemed unable to move. Only then did he realize with shock that he was not in the form of a human being at all, and could not even be called a human being. He seemed to have a third perspective and looked shocked. The terrifying shudder made his soul tremble. He looked up at the sky and saw a brilliant golden thunder swirling around, with a scattered light that almost poked a hole in the sky. Changjun was so shocked that he could hardly speak. He felt like a tiny ant under a towering ancient banyan tree. Creatures in the 2-dimensional world will never be able to understand the vastness and breadth of the 3-dimensional or even 4-dimensional world. Because what appeared before his eyes was a huge golden vine that reached from the sky to the earth, stretched straight forward, almost piercing the clouds, and was vast for hundreds or thousands of miles. Chapter 2, Ancient God Vine. Brilliant electric light continuously seeped out from the vine nodes, absorbing a vast amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth. The vast thunder that swirled out was pure golden lightning, which dazzled people and shocked his mind. Because he recognized it at first sight, what kind of vine was it? In the legendary world of immortal cultivation, the 9-sky thunder god vine ranks 36th on the list of all spiritual plants. He is not alone now. He turned into a vine, the 9-sky thunder god vine. Moreover, this 9-sky thunder vine is so huge and so terrifying that it is beyond all imagination. Compared with the vines described in the list of 10,000 plants and spiritual creatures, which are only 100 meters high, there is a complete difference. How can this be 9 heavens thunder god vine? It is simply the ancestor of vines and the ancestor of the thunder god vine lineage. At this moment, a powerful message merged into his mind. He didn't know when, but the mysterious scroll of Shanhaijing still existed in his consciousness. The scroll unfolded, revealing a corner of the image. It was a scene of chaos and desolation. Wrapped in endless chaotic air currents and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, a golden vine soared upward into the sky, piercing the clouds and emitting a brilliant golden ocean of thunder. Immediately afterwards, a piece of information naturally appeared in Changjun's mind. In the ancient times, there was a thunder cloud valley. In the valley there was a vine, which was the spiritual root of heaven and earth, a natural sacred tree, the nine sky thunder god vine. Its age was unknown and it was not affected by cause and effect. After countless thousands of years, a spirit from outside the domain was resurrected, and it gradually became supernatural. With his consciousness in the classic of mountains and seas, Changjun clearly knew this information and knew that his soul was reborn on a nine sky thunder god vine that had grown for tens of thousands of years. He also knew that the energy that had entered here would not be able to sustain for only 10 breaths. So, is this the classic of mountains and seas? Changjun's consciousness was terrified and shocked, and an inaudible soul sound came out of his mouth, muttering 2 words. Primordial, 10 breaths, 9 breaths, 8 breaths. Changjun clearly felt the passage of time. If he continued at this pace, he would have no time to do anything. It's so hard to get in here, it would be a shame if I didn't take something away. But his consciousness was too weak and he couldn't pry anything open. However, when there were only 3 breaths left, Changjun suddenly noticed that a leaf of the nine sky thunder god vine was slowly falling from above his head. This might be an opportunity. Changjun suddenly realized something. The golden vine leaf falling in front of him might be his only chance this time. Thinking of this, the very weak consciousness suddenly swept out without hesitation. It did not directly grab the falling leaves, but floated its consciousness on them, and changed the direction of the falling leaves according to the force. Changjun felt so powerless, like a child pulling a huge millstone. He had almost used up all his strength and his soul was almost drained. Just when there was only 1 breath left in the final countdown, the falling golden vine leaf, guided by consciousness, floated above the vine trunk. Immediately, Changjun felt his consciousness suddenly explode, as if a huge black hole was created, swallowing up his entire consciousness. His mind went dark, and when Changjun regained consciousness, he had returned to the previous hut. Then, Changjun suddenly opened his eyes and looked ahead. Sure enough, a vine leaf flashing with golden lightning was suspended in the air in front of him. The vine leaves floated slowly, as if guided by an invisible gravitational force. The magnetic field spread, and they were long, narrow, and sharp, like a knife. They were crystal clear, and emitted brilliant golden arcs that were intimidating. It was also very strange. The nine sky thunder god vine was towering into the clouds. He had witnessed it with his own eyes in the thunder cloud valley. The huge leaves covered the sky and the sun, but when he was pulled into the real world, it actually shrank severely. The vine leaf in front of me seemed to be shrunk countless times in proportion, but it was just like an ordinary vine leaf, only 2 or 3 inches long. But there was no time to think about it at this time. Changjun was ecstatic. He could hardly believe his eyes. What appeared before his eyes was the vine leaf of the nine sky thunder god vine that he brought back from the ancient world. Swish! A flash of lightning passed by, and the golden arc of electricity was bright and crackling. The leaves above seemed to come into contact with the outside air and quickly decayed. They shattered before his eyes and turned directly into a piece of soft golden ash and scattered down. The spiritual energy in the room suddenly surged, and the essence of the Changjun divine thunder contained in it suddenly caused flashes of lightning to appear in the room, hundreds of them in total. Seeing this, Changjun's face changed, and without caring about anything else, he subconsciously opened his mouth and took a deep breath. Suddenly, surging golden lightning and wisps of lightning poured into his mouth like a tide. The surging golden electric arc rushed into Changjun's body, and the lightning contained in it continued to flash and temper in various parts of his body. Fortunately, Changjun himself had a thunder spiritual root, and the golden lightning essence that flashed with intense power did not harm his body. Instead, it was assimilated and swallowed up by the magic power. What's even more bizarre is that the essence of thunder is violent and absorbing it rashly will damage the body. However, after Changjun absorbed the dust of the nine sky thunder god vine, it was integrated into his flesh and blood without any rejection reaction, as if the two were originally one. After being tempered by thunder and lightning, the toughness of his flesh and organs has undoubtedly improved a lot. A moment later, after swallowing most of the lightning essence in the room, Changjun opened his eyes, and in the depths of his eyes, he could clearly see a flashing golden arc of electricity. At the same time, the spiritual power in his body also surged, breaking through the 7th level of Qi training in an instant, and the total amount skyrocketed. After letting out a long breath, Changjun was also frightened by the sudden scene before. Unexpectedly, just a fallen leaf of the 9 Sky Thunder God Vine had shrunk severely, with only a tiny hair left. However, even this tiny hair still contained such a huge amount of thunder essence. Fortunately, he himself had the thunder spirit root, so he was able to turn danger into safety and gain a blessing in disguise. He stretched out his hand to pick the vine leaves forward, and only a lonely leaf stalk was left in his hand, and the golden vine leaves covering it had all disappeared. Changjun collected the remaining vine leaf dust of the 9 Sky Thunder God Vine and placed it in a jade bottle. There was probably a thin layer of it, golden in color, like gold powder. Just by absorbing the remaining essence in one gulp, I broke through my bottleneck and advanced to the 7th level of Qi training. I'm afraid the remaining 9 Heavens Thunder God Vine leaf dust is. When he thought of this, Changjun's heart was burning with excitement. And perhaps because his soul was reborn in the classic of mountains and seas, it possessed the huge 9 Sky Thunder God Vine, which was actually equivalent to his second incarnation. Therefore, when I integrated the vines and leaves of the 9 Sky Thunder God Vine, they blended together like water and milk, without any rejection reaction at all, and were able to be absorbed perfectly. As for the petiole of the 9 Heavens Thunder God Vine leaf. This time, Changjun fell silent, and several thoughts flashed through his mind. Changjun did not act hastily, but carefully put away the petiole of the vine leaf of the 9 Sky Thunder God Vine, slowly closed his eyes again, and continued to practice water grinding kung fu to refine the thunder essence remaining in his body.